In this episode, we are going to take a look on the sprites and also the sprite lists. So let's go for a moment to the documentation. And here, click on the API reference again. And here you will find the sprite lists and also the sprites. So let's click on the sprites. And we are going to use this sprite class. And as you can see, this sprite class has 5 parameters. The first is a texture, then the center X and the center Y, so the position of the texture or the sprite, the scale, and also an angle. So let's go back to PyCharm, and I have prepared 2 images. Here in the assets folder, under this folder there is an images folder and a greeny.png, which is just this image I created in Inkscape. This is a 50 by 50 PNG image. And I have a playership.png, and I have also created this in Inkscape, and its size is 64 by 96 pixels. Okay, we are going to load these 2 images as sprites. So here in the game view and in the init method, I'm just going to create an image variable. It will be image1, and it will point to the assets, images, and greeny.png. And in the next episode, I'm just going to show you how to use resources and resource handling to create resource handlers. So this will be the image1, and now we can load the sprite, and I'm just going to name it Greeny Sprite. So Greeny Sprite equals arcade.sprite and image1, and let's set the scale to 1. And in order to draw this sprite, we need also a sprite list. And a sprite list is similar to shape element list. So with a sprite list, you can batch draw multiple sprites. So if you have, for example, 1000 sprites in your scene, you don't have to make 1000 draw calls. So using a sprite list, you will make only one draw call and draw the 1000 sprites at once. So here I'm just going to create a player list, although I'm just going to call it not player list but sprite list. So cell.spritelist equals arcade.spritelist. And now let's append to this sprite list the greeny sprite with this command, so spritelist.append and the greeny sprite. And now we can draw this sprite list. So I'm just going to copy this, and in the onDraw method just call the spritelist.draw, and let me run it. And as you can see, it draws greeny in the lower left corner of the window. So let's position it in the middle of the window. To position the sprite, I'm just going to call the greeny sprite.position and for 440 and 360. So it's not exactly in the middle of the window. But now when I run it, greeny is now here. So 440 and 360y. And now let's add one more sprite. So this will be the image2. It is also in the assets folder, images, and the playership.png, so this playership. And also create a sprite from it. So self.shipSprite equals arcade sprite, giving it the texture. So this is a texture, not an image, and a scale of 1. If you want to scale it up, you can set its scale to, for example, 1.5 or 2. And also let's set its position. So shipSprite.position will be equal to 460 and 360. And the very last thing is add this sprite also to the batch, so the sprite list, using the sprite list.append and the self.shipSprite. And now as you can see, we have 2 sprites, but we have only one draw command, and it draws both of these sprites. And just make it a little bit more interesting, let's rotate the player ship around its own center. So here I have already created this onUpdate function, and here I'm just going to call the self.shipSprite and also its property, which is angle, and I'm just going to add to it in every frame 1. So let me see. And now as you can see, the ship rotates around its own center point. I have already told you why this sprite list is useful, but there is a better explanation in the documentation. I'm just going to the docs, and here are the sprite lists. Let's click on this and let's read about this. So the purpose of the sprite list is to batch draw a list of sprites. Drawing single sprites will not get you anywhere performance-wise as the number of sprites in your project increases. The sprite list contains many low-level optimizations taking advantage of your graphics processor. To put things into perspective, a sprite list can contain tens of thousands of sprites without any issues. Sprites outside the viewport window will not be rendered. So that's why it is very useful to use sprite lists.